Welcome. I'm Erica Kemp-Weitzman with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Los Angeles District. I currently serve as the chief of our Hydrology and GIS section, which is composed of water resources engineers and geographers. I'm here with my colleagues Mark Turgeon and Nate Eskridge to share with you some of the work we did to respond to the emergencies of 2020, the coronavirus pandemic, and the worst wildfire season of modern record in Southern California. We're going to walk you through the development of the geospatial products used to respond to those efforts to show you how the fundamentals of what you're learning now are used to build products that address our nation's toughest challenges. Nate Eskridge is a geospatial analyst with our Sacramento district. He will walk you through the building blocks of the COVID-19 dashboard and its development on the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Common Operating Picture, while Mark Turgeon, the GIS coordinator of the Los Angeles district, will take you through the coronavirus field site assessments and our natural disaster storyboard. Mark will continue to walk you through some details of the Common Operating Picture geospatial dashboards while showing some step-by-step instruction of how these dashboards were built. We hope that from providing a high-level overview as well as instructional detail that you're able to see how you take fundamental principles in GIS, such as the importance of database management and authoritative datasets, and build on those skills to create collaborative products that have allowed us to respond to the unprecedented disasters of 2020. Finally, we'll wrap up the way most projects wrap up with upward reporting. The products we provide to managers, our higher headquarters, and congressional representatives when they want the quick scoop of what's going on in their district. But to start us off, I want to give you a little bit of background on what we do at the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. The Corps of Engineers is composed mostly of civilian professionals who are part of the Department of the Army. We have districts all over the world, from military support in Afghanistan to the tropical outposts of the Pacific Ocean Division, providing services like watershed assessments for U.S. minor outlying islands. While we're most often known for our flood risk management programs and support of military construction, we support a wide variety of mission areas, including ecosystem restoration, tribal partnership programs, international and interagency services, congressional inquiries, and emergency management and response. And while we like to think of ourselves as the nation's engineers because of the technical work we do, we're not just made of engineers. Our workforce is comprised of a multitude of disciplines to tackle a broad project portfolio, and among them are our geographers and geospatial analysts. Our South Pacific Division is made up of 4 districts, including the Los Angeles District. All districts across the nation provide support when called on to other federal agencies, including FEMA, where we support emergency response through a variety of assignments. While we often support FEMA during disasters such as major flood events, the coronavirus pandemic brought a new type of emergency challenge that our workforce had not encountered before. In February of 2020, the Los Angeles District, along with other districts in the nation, were asked to stand up a Common Operating Picture website, or UCOP for short. These sites are fundamentally a geospatial repository for all operational activities within the agency and most frequently used for emergency management. You might guess that while the coronavirus epidemic was evolving into a global pandemic, our geospatial team was developing the data behind the scenes at this UCOP page that would inevitably be an important COVID-19 dashboard. Mark will take you through the basics of what UCOP provides to the Corps before we dive into the dashboards themselves.
Hi, this is Mark, and I want to talk about UCOP, which stands for the Army Corps of Engineers Common Operating Picture. Basically, this is a geospatial repository to provide authoritative data as an enterprise level for assets and delivered shared visualization services such as business analytics, data management, and integration, any kind of integration with geospatial data. UCOP is an Esri-based portal the Corps uses to share geospatial data sets. We create maps on here, as well as feature services, dashboards, storyboards, and mainly we provide support to address any hazards that may strike domestically and internationally. Here we are on, this is like a UCOP main page, and here's all our divisions here within the country by geographic region. And basically each of these divisions host a website within the UCOP realm to assist with the hazards that may occur by the geographic region. Within SPD, we have Los Angeles district, and basically we built out a handful of geospatial tools and visualizations to not only address COVID-19, but we also focus on wildfires, fire debris, earthquakes, and flooding. UCOP also offers our partners site, which is here, and this is internal only, but you would need credentials to gain access to the partners site. And there was a scenario where we brought in USC graduate students early last year, 2020, and we granted them credentials to access the UCOP portal. And they helped contribute COVID-19 GIS data and a dashboard that counted as a project for their grad school program, and they got credit for it by assisting the Army Corps of Engineers with their data set.
We were lucky to be able to partner with graduate students at USC to develop storyboards for COVID-19, and their ideas helped drive our internal efforts to build out the COVID-19 dashboard that the Corps of Engineers uses internally. Nate will walk us through that dashboard and break down where the data comes from and how we used it to develop metrics and updates that are important to the agency. Then Mark will break things down even further and provide some instruction on the use of Survey123, which was the foundation of a nationwide COVID-19 alternate care facility site assessment taken on by the Corps in March 2020.
Hello, this is Nate, here to demonstrate how we're using ArcGIS dashboards to inform our leadership and emergency management teams in response to COVID-19 since about March of 2020. This dashboard focuses on the 10 states that are within and adjacent to our South Pacific Division, with the intent to inform our leadership of the COVID impacts to our workforce. The primary features that I want to talk about today are the counties, the centroids of those counties, and our offices within our division. The purpose of the centroids is to represent these hotspots of cases greater than 200. The majority of this data that's within the counties is derived from Johns Hopkins University, but not all of it. We're also using CalOES and also Navajo Nation. So what we're displaying here are the cases on the left with totals represented in this bar chart, and also these larger numbers. Smaller numbers represent the daily increases, with the cases being on the left and the deaths being on the right. We're also able to create a script that produces weekly averages of cases back to 2 months. And this script is run every Tuesday to represent the previous week. And it gives a good representation of the trend going back 2 months. Speaking of trends, we wanted to provide more information than what was provided by Johns Hopkins University data. So what we've done is we've combined multiple sources to include trends from our USACE Common Operating Picture and also urban observatory trends. So here we're looking at the urban observatory trends, and here we have the UCOP trends. And this is created with a script that goes back 2 weeks and represents the upward or downward trends for each county. So what we do is we take those sources of data, bring them into ArcPro, and these are the different sources here. So here's the UCOP trends, and then we have the Johns Hopkins University counties cases, the urban observatory trends, and then also the definitive healthcare hospital information. So each day we run the script that brings in the latest information, and it joins together those various sources of information into a final output feature. That final output feature is then published up to our ArcGIS portal to represent that combination of source. And the benefit to that, or one of the benefits to going through that process, is that we get a more informative pop-up. So usually when you bring in data into ArcGIS Online, or in this case ArcGIS Portal, you get a pretty generic pop-up. But with those combined sources, we're able to provide more information within a single click. So you see here we have our UCOPS trend, also the urban observatory trends, and then Johns Hopkins information. So that's a way to use various sources to make a more informative and useful dashboard for your users. Mark will now talk about the COVID-19 alternative care facility site assessments we completed last year utilizing ArcGIS Survey123.
Hello, this is Mark, and today we're going to be talking about how we utilize Survey123 to collect COVID-19 alternate care facilities or COVID-19 site assessment data out in the field. First off, I wanted to kind of show like the two platforms in Survey123 that we utilized and that you could use as well to create an actual survey form. The first would be a desktop version called Survey123 Connect, and what you'll need is ArcGIS online credentials in order to access Connect, as well as the other alternative, the web-based version for Survey123. So let me go ahead and plug in my credentials here. Okay, so I'm logged in, and currently you can kind of see there's a handful of surveys that are in my folders here. But to create a new survey, we're going to hit New Survey here, click that button, and there's a bunch of options that when you open it up here, there's like existing templates you could utilize. This would be good for you to kind of like play around with if you're not really sure what kind of survey format you want to create. This is definitely helpful to utilize the various templates or the samples they have on here. And you could open up and basically it will create a survey based off this style. So this is one way you can create a survey. I'm not going to go ahead and do that right now, but basically you would hit create survey, then it would bring you to whatever sample or whatever template that you're working with. So when you do that with Survey123 Connect, the desktop version, it will automatically create a folder for you on your local drive, most likely the C drive, under an ArcGIS folder here. Then there'll be a list of folders here under My Survey Designs. These are where your Survey123 forms will be located on your local drive. Another way to create a survey would be utilizing, there's a web-based form. They have like a designer mode where you can use to get started here. So there's a designer mode, and this is what I just showed you before, the Survey123 Connect, the desktop versions. But this Web Designer, it could be a little easier for like beginners because it kind of lays it all out for you. So you'd plug in here. I'm just going to do tests here. Do another test. I'm not going to leave a summary and create. Once that's loaded, it will provide like a list of tools that you kind of like work and drag in. So you could just take these tools and kind of build out what you want to do here. So there's various, like you can create a multiple choice question here, kind of drop that in and fill out whatever parameters and answers here. And basically you would just kind of keep adding as you go along, and you would save it until you have your complete survey. Then you would submit it and save it. Okay, moving along. So this survey here is what the Army Corps created, and this is like a nationwide survey that we used amongst all the divisions and districts to collect the site assessments back in March 2020 to handle the COVID-19 situation. Initially, this form was a PDF, like a paper form, but we wanted to kind of use and get that digitized in a way where it's just easy to collect spatial data, easy to plug in, have these drop downs, everything, all our answers and results accounted for. We needed something quick to use out in the field, and this form was used on the application Survey123 that you could easily download on your iPhone or Android, as well as any kind of tablet out in the field. And your internet connection would be the satellite, however you have internet off your phone to collect the data. So basically, the assessment teams would go out, complete the form. There's options here to add attachments as well. So if they're looking at various, it could be anything out in the field, any kind of water pipe or restroom facilities, all the electrical components, all of that was useful information, but they were able to see what was out there and capture imagery if needed. And that imagery would be connected to the spatial data. It would be a point data in this case to collect and serve up to the main database. So from here, once this form is filled out, we set up a site editor on the Esri platform, and initially this really kicked off on the East Coast here because that's where COVID really started, and it worked its way west out to us. So they already had something in place, but it was up to us out in the West Coast to kind of connect with the East Coast to make sure we're all on the same page and kind of contribute our data together and save it up for headquarters out in DC. So as this data was collected, we set up the site editor to kind of like go in. So it could be any user that they didn't have to be a GIS user. They can go in here and make additional edits using a smart editor if they needed to update any of the attributes from that particular site assessment that was collected. And they were able to do that. They would enter any additional updates and they would save it, and all the stakeholders involved would be able to see that update. So these site assessments were initially collected. Not everyone was awarded. As you can see the symbology here on the right, we definitely collected a handful throughout the whole nation, but only a certain few. They had to go through a protocol where in order to get funding and built out, they had to be executed and it was pending, then eventually it'd be rewarded if it was finalized. If it was a finalized decision in the contract and all stakeholders agreed, then it would be granted an award to build out. But yeah, this is how we really utilize Survey123 to collect this important data, especially during COVID, quickly and effectively, but also get all stakeholders involved all across the country to see the same data set we're all contributing to.
So now you've seen our COVID-19 storyboard, and Mark walked you through the foundational work with Survey123 that provided consistent site assessment and database management for the nation during the early months of the pandemic when alternate care facilities were first being identified. While there are many existing COVID-19 dashboards, we hope our breakdown of some of the elements of the core response helps shed light on the nuts and bolts of how these products come together and how they allow multiple stakeholders across the nation to access this database. As mentioned, this was part of a broader effort by the Corps to provide consistent, up-to-date information on normal and emergency operations through GIS within the Army Corps of Engineers Common Operating Picture. As the UCOP site continues to grow, not only for Los Angeles districts, but for all Corps districts around the world, we continue to add new information. And once again, it helped us organize our internal efforts to respond to a second major disaster in 2020, California's worst wildfire season during modern times. Mark's going to take us into the natural disaster storyboard on UCOP that was also developed during 2020. Once again, we want to highlight fundamental GIS concepts and guide you through some of the steps we took to build these products, starting with the importance of source data and authoritative data sets.
Hi, this is Mark again, and I want to talk about natural disasters that occur in our South Pacific Division, specifically wildfires. I also want to talk about authoritative data sets that are hosted on the Esri Living Atlas and the importance of metadata, specifically tags. Also, our Army Corps of Engineer assets that are located in the field, and I'll go over how to build a quick dashboard for visualization. So to kick this off, to depict wildfire data, which we're focusing on for a natural disaster, really what you need to start off with is a map, and you would want to bring in a map on ArcGIS Online, make sure you're logged in with your credentials, and you want to add layers to the map to depict what you needed for the wildfires. So let me go ahead and add some data, and I'm going to do that from the Living Atlas layers here. And as the layer platform opens up, you noticed I didn't type in anything yet for the search, but there's a list of data here. And what I want you to look for is authoritative data sets. And by finding them, there would be a green kind of circle checkbox here. And if you hover over, they say authoritative data sets. These are recommended by Esri, as well as our UCOP group. So this is the type of data that we want to bring in anytime we're creating like dashboards for natural disasters, or we use this as well for COVID-19, especially the Johns Hopkins data. So I'm going to just go ahead and type in wildfires here. I'm pretty familiar with these data sets. So one in particular is this USA current wildfires. I'm going to go ahead and add this. And another one here I want to add is this satellite MODIS thermal hotspots fire activity. And we'll bring that in. So once we have the data in, you can see the symbology that is populated here. One for the current wildfires. So we have a point classification, the severity of the fire by acreage, and also we have a current perimeter And we have another symbology for the satellite MODIS thermal hotspot activity. So what I want to do is look at this data set and what really makes this an authoritative data set. So let's go and look at the item details, and I'll bring up the definition of this current layer, the USA current wildfires. So as you can see, it's pretty populated with a lot of metadata, a lot of descriptions, definitions, and this is really how you create an authoritative data set by having a full description of the data, the sources behind it, a breakdown of all the attribute data, the area covered, and this is pretty explanatory. This is a really good heavy data set, and it's used frequently by most people that want to depict wildfires, and it's updated quite often. Right now, we're not in wildfire season, but this is currently updated within the past 7 days. Another thing I want you to look at are the tags here. So there's a lot of tags which are, they're like keywords when you perform any kind of search functionality. You could just type in wildfires or fires, and this layer came up right away. So this right here is a solid data set, and it's considered authoritative. The other data set I want to look at is the MODIS. And again, let's look at the item details behind it. So as that populates, you can see it's authoritative. Sources from NASA, active fire data for the world. And I really like this data set because from the current wildfire data set that we looked at before this, that doesn't always get updated with a current perimeter. But when you bring in the thermal hotspots, you can classify the data to show like a perimeter of like where the hotspots occur. So besides this one, the MODIS is a great example to kind of show fire activity and hotspot data on the map. So these two data sets alone, we definitely include when we want to show any kind of wildfire activity.
If you're looking for more information on authoritative data sets, check out this blog about the Esri Living Atlas. And if you're not producing an authoritative data set for public release, it's still important to keep all of your metadata and data sources current, as Mark will explain in this next example.
Okay, next I want to talk about, after we have our map pretty populated with the authoritative wildfire data sets, our focus here at the core is to provide, what we're trying to do here is look at our assets and our employee data behind this as well. So some of our assets include our dams here, our employee addresses, so it's point data, it's all clustered right now in the purple there. We brought in our district offices throughout the division, as well as our field offices. So these are, let me go back to the legend here. So these are our assets that we really kind of concentrate on, especially for emergency management during wildfires, but also, any earthquakes, we look at that as well. We want to know by the map, whatever disaster that it's occurring, we want to make sure our employees are safe, our assets are protected. So these are the data sets that we bring in against any of the disaster data depicted on the map. Another layer that we bring in as well is our congressional district. So the Army Corps is a federal agency, and we have congressional representatives that control various parts throughout our division. So by having this congressional district layer, we're able to identify which representative is responsible for that area within our boundary. So we bring this in because we report out to all the congressional representatives once a year. We provide maps, but we give them updates throughout the year as well. If anything were to occur, like a natural disaster or COVID, they want to know what they're responsible for, anything that falls in their district. So this is a good way to kind of show and represent the data on a map, but also keep them in the loop to have coverage and provide any updates of any disasters and or updates within our territory. Once we have our data sets in place and our map in place, we get asked to build out a lot of visualizations, including like dashboards or storyboards. And I just kind of want to run down like a quick way to do that. I'm not going to go ahead and create a whole dashboard. We already have something in place, but I just want to kind of show you the tools that are on ArcGIS Online to go ahead and do so. So first, under your content, so this is going to pull everything from your content, any feature services that you have published out. And under create, you'll see, for create apps, you'll see dashboards and storyboards or configurable apps. So we're going to go ahead and select dashboards here. And I'm just going to give it a test and another test here. And I'm just going to hit OK. So once you have that in place, it's going to go ahead and create like a template, like an editable version dashboard. Currently, there's nothing on here, so what we need to do is populate it. And by the way we do that is use these tools right here. So from this drop down here, you'll see the various categories you can choose from to populate the dashboard. So we're going to start off with a map there. And basically, when you click the map, it's going to look for content that's already published on your ArcGIS Online. So I'm just going to go ahead and select this wildfire. So you select the wildfire map, or any map rather. It's going to ask you some parameters here, and basically I want to turn on search functionality. I want to be able to switch between base maps. I want all the layers visible. Have a legend. I'm going to leave this the extent bookmarks off, and I want to be able to zoom in and out, and we'll put the point zoom at 10,000. I'm going to go ahead and click done. So basically, here's our map that we initially had published out, and so you could view all the layers here in this stack right there. So you could turn layers on and off as you want to, whatever you want depicted for your dashboard. I'll leave everything as is right now. And here's the legend right there. So we'll leave that like that. And so this is like the first window of your dashboard. So we have our map. Other things you can do, you can add a side panel. I'm just going to go ahead and add that there. And then we can add a pie chart. And so again, these are layers that are published out in your content. So I will select the current wildfires for the pie chart. And once you have those in, you can kind of shift them around. You could drag the items around however you want to place them. I'm going to put the pie chart on the bottom, position that there. Here's our side panel, the map's right here. And you could basically, once you have things in place and as you build them out, using this drop down here to add more things to go. So these little selector boxes, this is where you kind of configure the data, and this is where you could apply a filter to the current wildfire. So say if so these are all the attributes and the field names within that current wildfire data set. And I definitely recommend looking at the attributes before you kind of apply any queries to it. But I'm pretty familiar with the data set, so I'm going to just say daily acres is greater than 300. So when I apply this query here, I'm going to go ahead and click done. Basically, I'm saying any current wildfire that's happening right now within the territory of SPD is greater than anything burning that's greater than 300 acres. I want you to show it. And basically, that's what that query says right there. Currently, there's no wildfires happening, so it's not going to show anything. But I just wanted to kind of give a quick breakdown of how to build a dashboard to create something like this. So this is what we have in place right now, and I will talk about that next. So here we are looking at our current wildfire dashboard. As you can see, there's a lot more detail than what I previously shown for the creation of the other one. You can apply, a black background or a white background, but we're still currently in an editing session, and we have multiple windows where you can add as well from this category side panel here. And this is basically just taking the data sets that we have and applying them to these windows and implementing various queries of how we want to look at the data. Currently, there's no wildfires happening, so this is a lot of historical data. These are already fires that they're already 100% contained. But this is, an example of how we can show data or visuals in multiple ways and kind of break down the data with different queries. As you can see, we added a side panel, and we put our legend here on the side to keep it off the map. But we still have our data sets. We have the ability to kind of switch between base maps. And something else cool that we did too was so for this particular map window, we were able to stack windows. So if I go to this, so this is just a basic map here. There's some functionality and widgets on here, but we were able to add a viewer where we can add more widgets to the map, especially like the measurement tool where we kind of use this a lot in case we want to measure like the distance between the wildfire from maybe say this employee here to the wildfire. We use this as well on our earthquake data. We have search functionality here, just various zoom in and out, but we're able to stack this and add this on here as well, and it creates another tab when you do that. Another important data set that I wanted to cover for wildfires. So this was part of a query for the current wildfire data set. Currently, there's nothing available unless we queried it by historical data. But there's an option in there, a field. It tells you the amount of structures that are destroyed within the area from the wildfire. So we thought this was very beneficial, and we were able to add that on there as well. Once there's data, this pie chart, or this bar chart rather, would populate during any current fires. So this dashboard was created for something bigger, rather. We put together a storyboard, and this wildfire dashboard, it sits right here under this tab. But we're also tracking any kind of debris flow from the wildfires. Some of these things might take a second to load, but these are all the various tabs on our storyboard that we're adding in the data that we're looking at. Anything that we could tell a story, anything high level, snapshots of the data to make quick decisions for all stakeholders involved in upper management. Another tab is the earthquake here. And these are just various, we're looking at flooding as well, but there's some resources on here. So we're just trying to make everything on one kind of storyboard where it's easy to kind of just click a tab and you're able to get right to the data set right away. And this all really started with just a map. So once you got the map in place, you create the app to build the dashboard. which is this here, then once you have that published out and saved, you can add this particular dashboard to a storyboard under the Wildfire tab. So that's a quick breakdown of what we've been putting together, what we've been working on. We still have a lot of work to do, but yeah, I just wanted to share this with you all, and it's very meaningful, and I'm just glad we were able to get this together, and I'm grateful Esri has these tools and capabilities to kind of work this together to get it on and show beautiful maps and dashboards and analytics behind it. So I definitely encourage you all to create a dashboard. Thanks again.
When Mark shows us how to do it, it looks easy. And while a lot of work went into the development of multiple dashboards on our UCOP page over the last year, we hope that as a student, you can see how core skills are built on to reproduce the dashboards you see today. While dashboards are currently some of the neatest tools we've showcased, we'd be remiss if we didn't highlight the importance of good map-making skills. One of the most powerful things GIS provides us is what I like to think of as a single-page report. One map can communicate a multitude of information, and this is especially important, as Mark mentioned, when congressional representatives ask us for summary data of the projects or disasters in their districts. The map shown here lists the representatives of the 117th Congress and their districts within our Los Angeles District Civil Works project boundary. This is the one-page report that shows which projects are in which representative's district. We also produce overview maps for specific programs like the General Investigations Program, the Navigation Program, the Regulatory Program, and our military program sites. Our agency headquarters also likes update maps, and this winter we got requests to start adding rainfall forecast information to maps of recent burn scars. This map shows the burn severity of the Ranch 2 fire in the San Gabriel Mountains last summer. Our engineering team has been developing debris flow simulation models, and our GIS team is tasked with communicating those risks with a single image. We have plenty more work to do developing new dashboards and tools, and our support of FEMA during the ongoing pandemic has morphed into new assignments with new challenges. We're looking forward to developing dashboards to support those missions and hope to provide more public-facing sites in the future. If you have questions about what we talked about today or want to learn more about the core, come visit us during the Virtual Knowledge Network. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks.